This video is going to be focusing on full-time volunteering. Now, before I start, I just want to preface this with, I was a full-time volunteer for 3 years with AmeriCorps, and most of my knowledge about full-time volunteering is actually U.S. based. So if you're viewing this from another country, I don't really know much about international programs, but this is mostly for United States residents and citizens, so I do apologize, but hopefully you could take away some tips from this too. Why am I making this video? Well, because a lot of people would ask me how to full-time volunteer and how to go about finding opportunities. I feel like a lot of people can really benefit from a video like this because there are a lot of questions, and if you don't really know where to start, it could be kind of daunting. So let's start out with who would make a good full-time volunteer. Someone who's passionate about everything and someone who's passionate about nothing. Now let me explain. There are people who will believe in a cause no matter what. And these are people who make really great volunteers because you could kind of dedicate a year of your life towards working on a cause. And then there's people like me where after I graduated college, I was kind of just like, well, I don't know what I want to do, but I want to help, but I don't know how. Those people make really good volunteers too. So you have to be really willing to dedicate yourself to this opportunity, and also know that it's going to take sacrifice. You're going to make very little, if any, money, depending on what program you do. Although most full-time volunteer programs do come with stipends, you just have to look into it. So how can you volunteer? Well, there are government-run agencies such as Peace Corps and AmeriCorps, among others. And I think there's a few new health corps too, like Health Corps, and there's little branch off corps. But the main two are Peace Corps and AmeriCorps. And then there's also religiously affiliated corps. There is Jesuit Corps, Lutheran Corps. I know there is a Jewish Service Corps, and also probably any major religion probably has some full-time volunteer opportunity. You just have to research into it. There's also a really good book, now that I'm thinking about it, for international opportunities called Alternatives to the Peace Corps, and most of these are privately run, non-governmental programs that allow you to volunteer full-time abroad. Okay, so let's start off with navigating AmeriCorps, because that's kind of the one I know the most about. So AmeriCorps, like I said, is a U.S. government-funded volunteer program. Now, that doesn't mean all of the funding for each AmeriCorps program comes from the U.S. government, but a large part of it will. Now, the programs I did are City Year, and that is an AmeriCorps program located in 17, I think they might even be up to 18. Let's say 17 to 19 different cities in the United States. If you're in England or South Africa, there's also now City Years in those countries. City Year is mostly focused on getting children at a young age and preventing them from dropping out of high school and encouraging them to graduate high school. That branch of AmeriCorps is AmeriCorps State and National, and there is a bunch of different programs under there. The next branch of AmeriCorps is AmeriCorps NCCC. It's physical service based, and what that means is you're going to be out mostly doing physical service projects. However, I have heard of some NCCC members who do office-based community service. And NCCC is based in different regions of the country, so it could be southern based. So, and you kind of travel around from place to place. So that's NCCC. Again, they all work kind of differently, so I would encourage you to look into AmeriCorps.gov to find out the most up-to-date information on these programs. You might want to consider the other branch of AmeriCorps, AmeriCorps Vista. And what Vista is it is a capacity building volunteer program. So what that means is volunteers get placed, usually individually, although sometimes it can be group-based. Usually you're by yourself, and it is more office-based and typically seen as building basically resources for an organization. And then also there's Peace Corps, which probably way more people know than they know AmeriCorps, and that is about a 2.5-year service term where you are based abroad, and they kind of place you depending on your skills. It's a more competitive process, and a process that involves way more paperwork. and it's a pretty lengthy application process. I would say if you're thinking about applying for Peace Corps, do it at least a year in advance and get in contact with a Peace Corps recruiter to make sure you're meeting all your deadlines and you know when all your paperwork is due. With AmeriCorps, it's a little bit easier because a lot of the deadlines are rolling. Like some programs that will be based on, say, the academic year, but other programs may start, in February or March. It really just depends on the program. So how do you find out about AmeriCorps? You go to AmeriCorps.gov, and from there you can search for opportunities by state or by interest, and then you come up with search results. However, these search results I found, honestly, are not always that accurate. So what I would actually recommend doing is if you find an opportunity you like, give them a call and ask them if they know any other AmeriCorps programs. And I know this kind of sounds weird that they wouldn't all be online, but I feel like I've heard of so many AmeriCorps programs that are going on, but when you search for them, they're not there. So if you find a program you like, call them up, say, hey, I'm really interested in your program. Like, do you know anyone else who is running an AmeriCorps program that I can also apply to? And usually they'll help you out. And if you're interested in finding out about the other service corps, I would recommend doing a web search for them because there are really a lot out there. And the ones I'm most familiar with are the government-run ones. One of the common questions I always got asked was, like, how do you live on such a small stipend? Because the stipend with AmeriCorps is really not a lot of money. If you are in AmeriCorps, you are considered to be living at the poverty line, so that makes you qualified for government aid. So you can apply for things like food stamps, which are really helpful for some people. So you could go to the grocery store and you never have to worry about not being able to eat. So that's really helpful too. And then some AmeriCorps programs do provide housing. I believe NCCC, when you are with them, you do not have to pay rent. They kind of pay for your housing, but you may be living in a tent or in a cabin or, like out in a forest. So it does kind of vary depending on where you are and what you're doing. And you can always inquire. Your supervisors or whoever's running the program, they'll know that you're not going to be making a lot of money, so don't be afraid to ask. Another thing you could do is just, look for cheaper places to live. I mean, I'm not saying it's easy, but it's not the hardest thing either. Like, it's, you won't have much money, but at the end of your service term, you will have done so much and built your resume and helped so many people that it doesn't really matter that you're not making enough money for a year. And you're probably going to be right out of college or maybe even right before college, and this is a time of your life where you can really sacrifice and, say, I'm going to put aside making money for a year and just go for it. And with AmeriCorps, you do qualify for forbearance on federal loans. So if you have any federal Stafford, Perkins loans, or anything else like that, you qualify for forbearance, which means your loans basically get put on hold, and any interest that accrues during the time that you're in AmeriCorps, the government pays for. One of the scariest things for me was I was coming right out of college, and I had all these loans, and I was like, oh my God, how am I going to pay for my loans? And, at the end of the day, it was okay. I made it work, and you can make it work too. Please, if you have any questions, message me, comment. I love talking about full-time volunteering. I love telling people how to do it. So please feel free to ask and let me know what you find and if you come up with any cool opportunities. So I hope this helped you kind of figure out if full-time volunteering is for you. I know it was a lot about AmeriCorps, but that is what I'm familiar with. So yeah, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.